The second thing in this section was multiplying complex numbers. Now here again, you just multiply like normal and treat these i's like variables, but we will have one special thing that will change at the end, because once we multiply these two i's together, it'll become I squared, which will turn into a -1. But let's just go on and do the rest of it. Now you'll see we have 2 minus 3i times 7 minus 4i. So you have two binomials being multiplied, so we're going to use the full method. So first, we're going to do 2 times 7, which would be 14. Then we're going to do 2 times -4i, which would be -8i. All right, next we're going to do -3i times 7, which would be -21i. And then we're going to do -3i times -4i, which would be a +12i squared, because I times I would be I squared. Now what we have here is we have 14 minus 8i minus 21i plus 12i squared. So then we need to do some simplifying. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put together our i's right here in the middle. So we have -8i minus 21i, which would come out to be 14 minus 29i plus 12i squared. Now when you learn about complex numbers, you learn that I squared is the same thing as -1. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this I squared into a -1, which would look something like this, plus 12 times -1. And then 12 times -1 would just simply come out to be a -12. Then we put together our 14 and our -12, so 14 minus 12 would just be 2 minus 29i. And then that would be your final answer, 2 minus 29i. All right, let's take a look at b over here. We'd say 4 times 4, which would be 16. Then we'd say 4 times -5i, which would be -20i. Then we say 5i times 4, which would be 20i. And then 5i times -5i, which would be -25i squared. Now again, we're going to put together the middle parts, which would be -20i and +20i. So -20 plus 20 would be 0. So we just simply have 16 minus 25i squared. Now just like we saw over here, I squared becomes -1, and all it does is it just changes the sign of this 25. So we're going to say it's going to become 16 plus 25, and then we say 16 plus 25, which comes out to be 41. So all right, our final answer would be 41. Last up, we'll look at simplifying complex expressions.